experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Superhuman Radio. We have a great show planned today during the first hour. I'll be joined by Wade Lightheart to talk about a very unique probiotic, a meat-eating probiotic. Yes, you heard me. This is an amazing probiotic, especially for those of us, as we age, we tend to shy away from, not me, because I use mastimes at every meal, but we tend to shy away from eating meat. Big problem in the older population. But more importantly, those of us who train hard and eat a high diet of protein want to extract every morsel of amino acids from that meal. And this particular probiotic makes it more possible than ever. And we're going to talk about that. We're even going to send you to a video where you can see this probiotic in action devouring meat. It's really fascinating. Then later in the show, I'm going to do another monologue. Today's monologue is going to be on passion. And also, I'm going to mention that I've already gotten some pushback on my calories in, calories out, where I showed the prisoners of war starving to death. And if that doesn't prove calories in, calories out, nothing does, because they were hormonally challenged, their thyroids tanked, they were living with high levels of stress and cortisol, all the things that are supposed to make you fat, but it didn't. And I'm going to invite that listener on to talk to me about their opinion and why I got it wrong. And that, these monologues are just designed to provoke thought. I never said I'm an expert at anything. I think that 16 years behind this mic, interviewing some of the brightest minds in science and medicine have given me perspectives and the ability to come up with unique opinions. But that doesn't mean I can't learn. I've never stopped learning. I think the answer is to be a perpetual student forever. But with that being said, we will talk about the monologue at the top of the hour. Before we get started, we have to thank our title sponsor, and that's Legendary Foods. The Pop-Tart has been reimagined, less than 1 gram of sugar, 20 grams of high-quality protein, 4 to 5 net carbs if you're a net carb guy. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary. Use the code SHR10 to save 10% off. And now, without further delay, I always feel like I'm on vacation when I have Wade on, because I just genuinely like hanging out with him. How you doing, Wade?
Doing great, Carl. Great to be here.
Yes. So, we're going to talk about an L. plantarum form of a probiotic, but what you guys have done is you've really isolated and standardized just for one form of it. Talk about that.
Yeah. So first off, when you're looking at your digestive system, there's 3 parts that are involved in the transmutation of what you put in your mouth into building blocks or energy units. And in the case of protein, it's not protein a person needs, it's amino acids. And so the breakdown, as we've overviewed many times, is enzymes are in the first stage. Hydrochloric acid changes the pH, as well as disinfects, and different amino acids are cleaved off your protein consumption. And then all of that food chain ends up in the digestive system. And there are certain strains of probiotics which will convert the various types of food that you eat into building blocks, antioxidants, all sorts of stuff. We have a lab in one of the few companies that actually has a lab. We have a relationship with the International Birch University in Sarajevo, Croatia. And the idea is that we test all these things. And we look at what probiotics actually, what did they do, which ones work. And most probiotics work on carbohydrates. That's what's the most common aspect of probiotics. but there's only a few strains that actually break down protein, that convert amino acids, and L. plantarum is one of those strains. Now, the thing about that is when you are looking at probiotics, there are families within the same strain. And what we were looking at is how could we enhance, in other words, mutate or train, some people will call it entrainment, through environmental conditioning, to force a probiotic to adapt in ways that would give it unique capabilities. Very much like they take regular Marines in the Army, they put them through BUDS training, and a few of those people have what it takes to withstand the psychological and physiological stressors that would allow them to perform in extremely complex environments. You take the average person to drop into a Navy SEAL situation, you'll be dead in a couple minutes. Like just on a regular mission. We're just going to die.
Well, and this is how we got where we are today after X million years. We're talking about selection pressures here.
Mm-hmm. So the thing about bacteria cultures is you can, because a lifespan of a bacteria is much shorter, you can put what we would say in the terms of lifetimes, how we evolved over thousands of generations, you can pull off in a short period of time with bacteria culture. So we took L. plantarum, which is a well-known and robust strain, which has two specific functions. Number one, it helps identify pathogenic bacteria, proteins that require that are undigested in the body to pre-digest, and that also will help push out bad bacteria. Bacteria that causes a bunch of negative problems for people. Some of our bad bacteria will produce indole and scadol and all these neurotoxins. The crusty eyes, brain fog, bad breath when you wake up in the morning generally means you have a disbalance of bad bacteria. It's ammonia-based or really bad gas. With L. plantarum, we put it in a toxic soup, right? That would kill most bacteria. And then we ran a sine wave through it. It's almost like a lifeline. And about somewhere between 2 and 3% were able to survive. In other words, they would mutate and survive. And then we took them out and then we fed them in different types of food mediums to see which food products they would actually grow, which prebiotic foods they would grow. And the cool thing and Dr. Michael O'Brien, the guy that helped recover my own body when I crashed and burned from the Mr. Universe contest, he was the guy that kind of founded this whole research in the science. And then we were able to acquire that researcher. I mean, he got a patent issued for these probiotics because they're not like regular L. plantarum. And I would love to tell you, we put the patent on our site. If I said what these bacteria are capable of doing, they'll take it off the air. They'll take your show off the air because it's that potent. But put it this way, I don't have any fears about many of the things that people are worried about in today's world because of the potency of L. plantarum. And so we've taken that process, we've enhanced it with our lab. And then now we just recently, we'll be publishing this early next year. We've got some more papers coming out. There's 6 different tests that you can put on bacteria that will see how they will survive. In other words, this is a classic standardization set of tests, and our researchers at the Birch International University, they tried to kill this L. plantarum. These things they're very difficult to kill. They're really successful. And why is that important? 2 things. One, it ensures that you have proteolytic bacteria, that is bacteria that breaks down protein, in your digestive system, which is great because anything that's left over there in your intestinal tract, this will convert into the amino acids you need. Second, this acts as a regulatory force against bacteria that can cause problems. And L. plantarum changed my life. And since I've been using that, I've only been sick once in the last 18 years. And
you attribute that to the L. plantarum form that you take.
Yeah. And, one of the other things that we're well known for is we have it's well over 100 people now who have contacted myself, Matt, or someone on our team because they had severe food poisoning. And I'm like, just take a handful of P3OM and it literally clears up in 30 minutes. It's amazing.
That is amazing. That's saying a lot.
Yeah.
We have some really good questions from Michael Gentili. I hope that's how you pronounce your name. I grew up in Brooklyn, and that's how I would pronounce your name.
Mm-hmm.
He's watching on YouTube. He says, super interesting title of the show. And then he goes on to ask, has this been tested in humans? I'm concerned about the safety of things like enzymes from pineapple. Even that concerns him, bromelain. And I'm sorry, there we go. And he's not sure about the spelling of bromelain. And he goes on to say, also wondering if we could culture this like we can L-reuteri in yogurt. Could this be a starter for a yogurt? That's a fact. That's really interesting to me, quite frankly.
Yeah.
What do you think? So should he be concerned? Is this safe in humans? Is it going to eat the lining of your stomach?
Yeah. So first off, you have no concerns about the enzymes. And enzymes and probiotics. I'm not sure is he talking about the probiotic that's being tested in humans?
Well,
or the
yeah,
enzyme?
he's talking about the probiotic since it
Yes.
eats meat. Technically, it eats flesh.
Yes.
But he's saying like that worries him because he's even worried about pineapple enzymes.
Yeah. So I think first off, if you had a flesh-eating bacteria that was causing problems in the human body, you'd quickly be taken out of the marketplace, right? you can't. All of this has been tested both in vitro and in vivo, and we've been producing this product for now almost 20 years. So we're good on that side of the equation. Second thing is, when you're talking about enzymes, and I will say where people could potentially run into problems. If you have a form of an ulcer inside of the body, and you are subjecting an enzyme to that ulcer, a proteolytic enzyme in specific, then the protective layer, that proteolytic enzyme would be perforated and could cause problems. Okay,
because the flesh is, but that's true of even the hydrochloric acid in your digestive system.
Exactly. So that's accurate. You can put enzymes, for example, on top of your skin. It will not eat your skin. Okay, so we have to clarify about that. You're looking at very specific conditions of pre-digested food inside the intestinal tract that the P3OM will actually work on. Now, far as the enzyme from pineapples, one of the things that's interesting, when I was in Panama, I got into making pineapple juice, which are rich in enzymes. And some of the farming practices there are a little bit suspect. And if I took too much pineapple juice, I got really into making this pineapple juice because the pineapples were so good there. But I would get perforations in my mouth from that. So your mouth is not the same as your intestinal tract. So for example, if I was to hold proteolytic enzymes in my mouth for an extended period of time, I could get perforation inside of that because your mouth is not designed to have a lot.
It doesn't have the mucosal barrier.
That's right.
That your digestive tract has, and that's where the probiotics live, in that mucosal barrier.
Correct. That's exactly correct. And so now, when it comes to probiotics, you're dealing with a whole different mechanism of breaking things down as opposed to an enzyme. So I think there's a little bit.
I want to specify. So enzymes, like other caustic agents, work by hyperoxidation. When you pour acid on something and it starts to smolder and smoke and sizzle and spit, it's such a rapid oxidative force that it is a corrosive. Okay, but probiotics are living microbes, and they eat and they poop, and now people are calling the poop I always call it poop probiotics when they poop. The microbes in your gut poop. Now they're called postbiotics by people who want to, sound intelligent. But the microbes in your gut don't attack your own flesh, but they do attack the foods you send down, and they literally eat it, not through corrosion. They have their own way of eating things and pooping. So it's quite a different pathway, if you will, between enzymes and probiotics, but they do work together, and we'll get into that. They do work together. What about this is a fascinating idea. So what about using P3OM to start a culture, like in a raw milk to make a kefir?
Yeah, so I find we have done that, and I do that, and I do advocate for it. I like coconut. So you can use coconut water or coconut meat. So one of the things I like is I'll take the P3OM, I'll blend up coconut meat and coconut water, and then you ferment it. And the higher the temperature, the faster it's going to ferment. Okay. And so in a coconut water, if it's really hot, it'll start to almost get fizzy. And with coconut meat and coconut milk together, it makes a really nice yogurt stuff that's really good. And you'll get multiple times the amount because your doubling effect is very high at that environment. So yeah, you can totally do that. So what I would suggest, the warmer the temperature, the faster it's going to ferment. So let's say you're at room temperature at 72, probably not hot enough to get things going fast enough. I like a more higher temperature. In the 80s is really nice. Humidity is going to be a factor. You let it ferment and just test it every now and then. And as soon as it starts to get sour, just a little bit sour, you're on the right track. And you can feel it when you take it into the body. You'll actually have a somatic effect when you take it both viscerally and in your brain. And then when you go to too far, it'll go kind of rancid. And so understanding the difference between the two is really important. And that's a little bit of testing. There's a point that you can tell it's like a real yogurt, and then there's a point that it goes past it. And I used to mix that also with my protein and I'd stir in some protein with it, and it's amazing. I really like it that way. So yes, you can do that.
Almost like a pre-digested protein then, if you're mixing it in with that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would do.
I think you answered his other question about what would be a good substrate to culture it in. I wouldn't use blended meat. He's asking about blend. No, you just take it with your meat. Take it with your steak. You know?
So I will. So just to give you some heads up, of course, we've done all kinds of crazy experiments. When you have to understand that digestion is controlled rotting, essentially. And so when you put meat, and we've done this, we put meat at higher temperature, chicken and things like that. You'll like, for example, set it in the oven at around 100 degrees, 105, that sort of stuff. It'll start digesting the meat. And the only problem is you start to get you get a
it's going to give off gas. Yeah.
It's going to produce that stench that you're not happy about, but it's working.
Well, and that stench happens inside your body and comes out as gas sometimes. You're manufacturing it in your kitchen now.
That's right.
Without the help of your digestive tract.
That's right. So we've done that, just so you know. So I love the experimentation concepts.
If I just want to give this out now while we have all these people that are tuned in, because a lot of times people can't stay for the whole show. But if you go to shrnetwork.biz/P3-OM, on that landing page, if you go down about 2/3 of the way down, there is a video that shows putting raw meat in just water, putting raw meat in a combination of masszymes, which we're going to talk about because they work together, and then putting raw meat in masszymes and P3OM, and you literally watch the meat disappear. Obviously, it's time lapse. So think about this. If it can do that in a Pyrex dish, think about how it's working in your stomach to deliver more nutrition from the food you're eating. It's undeniable. Hold on a second. Let me just, we have a couple questions here. Oh, okay. So we're going to promote the link p3om.com/SHR. I think my link points to that. That gives us a chance to track it as well. That's the only thing. So let me go back. So Sean Wasson has a question, and I'm not sure. Is bromelain the main difference between P3OM and masszymes? Is there bromelain in masszymes?
No. So we're talking apples and oranges. P3OM is a probiotic. Masszyme is an enzyme.
Right.
And so, again, you have enzymes that break down the first stage of your digestive process. Hydrochloric acid changes the pH, which activates some enzymes, deactivates others. And then probiotics of the various strains will work on fats, carbohydrates, fiber, or in this case, protein. So it's just a misidentification of which does what. The ultimate combination for digesting and optimizing your protein is masszymes, HCl, and P3OM. If you take all of those in conjunction, you'll get better gains, you'll recover better, and you won't have a digestive issue again the rest of your life.
So here's an interesting thing. One of the monologues I'm doing next week, I'm going to kind of give away today. I did a show about 3 years ago that showed that taking a quarter teaspoon of baking soda an hour after a meal actually made autoimmune disorder symptoms subside over the course of weeks. And when we did the interview, so right away people think, oh, alkaline, you need the alkalinity. No, when you use baking soda, your gut has a rebound effect and it increases hydrochloric acid production.
Mm-hmm.
So I said to the scientists then, why not just take hydrochloric acid? And, that wasn't his study. So he was like, well, I guess. I don't know. So I have several people who have autoimmune disorders and or silent GERD.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the difference between frank GERD and silent GERD basically is the esophagus is not being bathed in pepsin. When you have heartburn, it's because the hydrochloric acid and pepsin together are literally eating the skin. But for some reason, some people don't produce a lot of pepsin. It doesn't make it up into the esophagus. So what they get is a sour taste all the time. And especially post meals, their nose will get stuffed up because these gases are coming up, but they're not burning the esophagus. So they don't think they have GERD, but they're both the same exact mechanism. They both result from a relaxing of the esophageal sphincter. And quite often, relaxing of the esophageal sphincter is the result of pathogens and fungi in your stomach that, in an effort to protect themselves, turn proton pumps off. They say, oh, we don't like all that acid. We can't live here. Let's turn it off. So the pH of your stomach goes up, the esophageal sphincter opens up, and undigested food rots in your stomach and gives you autoimmune disorders. So I think I shared this with you a while ago. I started taking HCl Breakthrough after every meal, and I had silent GERD at the time, and it's gone. And now I'm working with a woman who has silent GERD and autoimmune disorders, and I have her taking HCl Breakthrough. I have her taking one at the top of the meal, but after she's all done eating for at least a half hour, I have her take one. And she's already experiencing a change in her symptoms of AI. And so the reason this is so fascinating to me is because there's a supplement on the market called GERDly right now that claims to help people who have GERD, and it's a natural proton pump inhibitor called D-limonene. So what they are doing is shutting down hydrochloric acid and making your symptoms go away, but not really, because now you have nutrient deficiencies, and now the things that are living in your stomach that are causing it in the first place are going to flourish. Have you ever heard of such idiocy, Wade?
I see it on the advertising of every sports show that I watch every single day. And that is the treating of the symptoms of disease without understanding the preliminary causes that led to the condition. And so you end up with a corollary of side effects. And that's why so many people are hooked on prescription medications that treat a symptom, but not the underlying cause. And the underlying cause is our responsibility, not the doctor's. And unfortunately, people have got it all backwards. The doctor is trained to treat the symptoms, not trained to treat the cause. It's people like yourself that are looking upstream what the problem is and getting upstream of the problem. And of course, that disrupts the medical model. It disrupts the political engine. And if people don't understand this, forget it. You're going to end up with disability adjusted life expectancy at 60 years old. That's it. That's the result, and the evidence is well documented and in. So yeah, I see that absurdity all the time. It makes me crazy.
Like, people don't realize it's basically a natural proton pump inhibitor. It's raising the pH of your stomach by lowering hydrochloric acid, and that makes you prone to illness. The reason a vulture can eat a dead carcass and not get sick is because they have such a low pH that the acid in their stomach kills everything. We actually are supposed to have a very low pH too, but modernity has gotten that out of us. We have to take a break. We have more questions coming up. We will talk about masszymes in this discussion because it is best to take them together. But there is nothing like P3OM. P3OM also may make you relax and sleep better. We want to talk about why that is when we come back. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Superhuman Radio. I would easily say that I am the hugest proponent you will ever meet to doing anything that will improve the quality of my sleep. And that's because sleep is linked to just about every metabolic disorder we see in our population today. One of the easiest things you can do to improve the quality of your sleep is to get a pillow that can be shaped into the exact form factor that allows you to get your best night's sleep. And that is MyPillow. I've been sleeping with MyPillow for a few years now, and I can tell you that when I have to travel and stay in hotels, I don't get a good night's sleep because I don't have MyPillow with me. Right now, you can save up to 60% off of everything offered to improve the quality of your sleep at shrnetwork.biz/mypillow when you use the code SHR. Or you can call toll-free 800-889-4938. And remember to use code SHR to save up to 60% off of everything at their website. The Hercules pre-workout from Lost Empire Herbs is like no pre-workout you have ever had before. Completely natural formula designed specifically to optimize workouts, provide quicker recovery time, provide adequate nutrition, and get you away from all those no-good, overstimulating pre-workout supplements on the market today. The Hercules pre-workout blend is a mix of extracted natural herbs and mineral pitch. No fake colors, no added flavors, nothing else. Not only will Hercules pre-workout formula help your workouts, but you'll likely discover lots and lots of side effects, beneficial side effects. Go to shrnetwork.biz/Lost Empire today to learn more. Being superhuman means being conscientious about the choices we make. White Oak Pastures is superhuman when it comes to raising livestock. They're committed to animal welfare, land regeneration, and rural revival. They responsibly manage the entire process from the pasture to your doorstep. High-quality, pasture-raised, great-tasting meat from a farm you can trust. Full nose-to-tail selections. They even have options for your pet. Go to shrnetwork.biz/White Oak and use the code SUPERHUMAN to save 10% off your entire first order. P3OM from Bioptimizers is a patented prebiotic and probiotic supplement with Lactobacillus plantarum OM. It has now been upgraded to P3OM 2.0 with the addition of a superfood formulation that makes it 2 times stronger, as well as optimizes L. plantarum's strength. So it's more powerful than ever, which means that not only will it help you completely digest all animal proteins, it also reduces cortisol, causes deep relaxation and better sleep, and reduces stress. Go to shrnetwork.biz/P3-OM today and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off.
Dogs should be powered by fat and protein, not carbs. That's why Visionary Pet makes low-carb, ketogenic dog food for dogs of all breeds and life stages. From kibble to freeze-dried and even low-carb treats, all Visionary Pet recipes are very low-carb, ketogenic, and made with 100% real meat protein. Shop now and use code SHR for 20% off your first order today. Your dog deserves the lifelong benefits of optimal nutrition. Make the switch to Visionary and see why smart dogs eat low carb.
GHKCU is one of the most effective peptides for rebuilding more youthful skin, reversing skin damage, diminishing wrinkles, and tightening loose skin. I personally use Restoracell with GHKCU every day. It's making an undeniable difference in the quality of my skin. Restoracell is fantastic for all types of skin. Now you can order Restoracell and save 25% when you use the code SHR25. That's SHR25. While you may be diligent in your workouts and your diet, don't neglect what people see first and foremost, and that's your skin. Go to shrnetwork.biz/blue and use code SHR25 today.
You are listening to the Superhuman Channel. We're ripped and we're ready.
Hey, welcome back. We have questions and we have comments and we have all sorts of good stuff here. The first thing I want to ask you is, how does P3OM affect sleep and also mood? Because clearly it does.
Yeah, a couple things. First off, most of your serotonin is actually produced in the gut by various types of bacteria. And there's a twofold process. There are other bacteria cultures. We created another product called Probiotics, which are the bacteria related to serotonin function. But if you have undigested protein because of a dysbiosis of some sort in the bacteria culture, what happens is you actually have, quote unquote, for lack of a better word, bad bacteria that are producing neurotoxins that disrupt your brain function. So foggy brain is a good thing. If you're getting crusty eyes, I think that many of the conditions that are being treated, this is a personal opinion, by the way, this is not a medical diagnosis, is related to digestive issues that people can't make proper neurotransmitter function. The second aspect where P3OM does two things. Number one, it breaks up those amino acids that can be used, and they are symbiotically work with bacteria cultures work in colonies. So P3OM is a bacteria that supports the colonies that are healthy for your body, and they attack the colonies that are unhealthy. So it's like a regulatory force inside the body, which is really interesting of how it works. It's literally like a military unit. It's not brought in for everyday stuff. It's come in there to go in and wipe things out. It's a transient strain, so it's in, it's out, and that's it. The other thing is protein absorption, digestion, and utilization. If you have a compromised digestive system, you can't break that. You literally do not get those amino acids through the barrier into your intestinal tract. And probiotics, and we're seeing all kinds of cool stuff in the lab. I can't wait for the new patent filings to come out where we can illustrate this. They produce all sorts of nutrients, vitamins. They produce antioxidants. They do all these cool things that we never knew. And when you have a dysbiosis, you're not getting some of those things. And many of those things are key elements that allows you to formate the neurotransmitters that make you feel good. And then the final piece is a lot of people just eat too late. And they're eating late at night, and it's disrupting their sleep patterns, their deep sleep, their REM sleep. They're spending time in digestion when they should be rest and relax. There's an overstimulation of the nervous system. Food is sitting in parts of the stomach or intestinal tract that it really shouldn't be sitting there. We're designed to be mobile creatures. In fact, most of our brain development is related to the fact that we move. And the fact that we don't move a lot and we are not exposing ourselves to the natural bacteria both negative and positive in our environment, is weakening. Here I go. Weakening us as a species, and so there's a multiple effect to this. And then the more you don't move, the more that affects your mood, affects neurotransmitter formation. And, so yeah, instead of eating late at night, go for a walk in the evening and take a probiotic before you go to bed instead of a big lunch. And, you'll see you'll see improvement. I see it all the time.
So I have HCL breakthrough everywhere because I usually take it after a meal, as I explained. Well, at night, I have a peptide concoction that I inject right before bed. But an hour before bed, I take one HCL because if there's any residual food still in my stomach from that 6 o'clock meal, I want it gone before I go to sleep because I don't want the factory working all night when I'm trying to sleep. So the HCL breaks anything still in my stomach down. And then my pre-bed injection is oxytocin, little tiny bit of growth hormone, CJC 1295, and GHRP6. And GHRP6 is also known as a gastric prokinetic. It triggers I want to say solstice, but it's not so. Peristalsis. It triggers peristalsis, and it makes your body move food down into the intestines. And some people, it makes them poop if they take too large of a dose. But what it does is it stimulates the digestive process that may have stopped. And so between the HCL and the GHRP, I go to bed. There's nothing moving through my stomach anymore. Now I have to time it, but that's how I use HCL breakthrough before bed, not right at bed, about an hour before bed, and then the injection moves all that nice liquidy stuff out. So yeah, Ron Rossi wants to. Oh, okay. So here's a question, real quick. And this one comes from R. Vasquez 818, who's watching on YouTube. Please talk about the benefits of taking Masszymes while fasting.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite topics, actually. And when I dove into, I'll give the backstory to that because I think it's important to understand the concepts, and your radio listeners are a little bit more sophisticated. So I was looking at longevity studies. And I was also looking at how animals heal themselves in the wild. And then I was looking at historical aspects of healing modalities regarding fasting. And I thought, why does an animal, when it's injured, not eat? Why do historical records demonstrate that fasting has healing processes? And how might this relate to enzymes? And what I came to the anecdotal conclusion of was, wait a minute. Oh yeah, and also for longevity studies, people who eat less tend to live longer, which seems counterintuitive, right? You need food to build the body. So what I began to realize is there is a metabolic, energetic, enzymatic cost to the digestion of food. And so regardless of the species, when they added digestive enzymes into the species, it seemed to preserve the metabolic enzyme capability of the product, and the species lived longer. This was cats, rats, dogs, all done by, you can check out Dr. Edward Howe's Food Enzymes for Health and Longevity. There's an extensive amount of studies where he was able to demonstrate this. And I thought, oh, okay. So when an animal's sick, it stops eating, that frees up its enzymatic producing capability to go heal the tissue. Same thing as why we're not eating when we're sleeping. So there's a recovery process involved. We also know that when you overfeed animals or people, they tend not to live as long. Okay, because that's extensive. So I went, okay, well, what would happen if I'm fasting and I start taking enzymes? Because I think the freeing up of the enzymes should accelerate the process. And I'll give a crazy story. I haven't told this too many times. I was a wild man partier for a period of my life. I took prodigious amounts of drugs and stuff and had a great time doing it until the end of that road happened. And I was in recovery mode and got into really looking at rebuilding my health. And I engaged in taking 100 masszymes a day during a 10-day water fast. And on the third day, I started to experience an extremely painful sensation in my liver. It felt like I was being stabbed in my liver. Now, I had no cognitive issues, but it was enough that I was like holding myself. And I thought, this is odd. What's going on here? So I kept going, and I went to a colon therapist to say, hey, maybe I've got something lodged. Maybe it's like we did some colon therapy. He's like, dude, you're clean as a whistle. This is a pure liver thing. I'm like, well, what can we do? And he says, well, you can take a little saltwater brine to see if you can draw whatever's in your liver. You're having a healing crisis. So I made a saltwater brine that's 38% salt in a liter of water, shook it all up, warm water, plugged my nose and drank it and literally laid on my bed so that the water would cool around my liver. And so and the idea was to create a polarity to pull whatever that toxic chemicals coming out of my system. In about 30 minutes, I had the sensation I had to get up to vomit, and I went to the bathroom and vomited in the sink. And I wish I could have got an extract of that, but it was this bright, greenish yellow toxic liquid that just came out of my body. Not like normal vomit. It was like looked like pure chemicals out of the Dow Jones factory.
Right. Chemical spill. Yeah, chemical spill. Yeah.
And the 95% of the pain left my liver almost instantly, and I went into almost a state of euphoria. Systematically after that, I started using high levels of enzymes with a variety of people doing fasting. And most of them were experienced fasters, people who had done it. They were able to manage 5, 8, 10 days water fast. And we started using this in my clinic. And the results that were happening that you hear about from fasting in virtually every case were accelerated. So people's skin conditions change. I saw scars go away in people. I saw people heal from very debilitating conditions of all kinds. And I was convinced that adding masszymes to a fast was able to accelerate results. Early one, if you're doing it on a day fast, you'll notice that you go to the bathroom more. You'll crap out more stuff quickly. Mm-hmm. The other thing is you'll also notice that your energy metabolism seems to stay higher during long fasts, where some people will struggle with their energy. Mm-hmm. It seems to wash away that drop, that adjustment phase, particularly in the first 3-4 days. So yeah, it's very effective. I suggest using 5 enzymes anytime a day. Now, just so people want to know, what's the top end limit? I went up to 1,000 in a day to see if I break the GI barrier. Really? You need to own the company for that. Never broke the GI barrier on 1,000 enzymes. And so that was fascinating. And so I realized that, and Howell had said that. He had suggested, as did Dr. O'Brien, that your body will absorb and utilize enzymes and use them for the different pathways.
Where are enzymes stored? Can they be stored in the pancreas? Like, can the pancreas go, oh, we'll keep that here, we'll use it?
Liver, pancreas, gallbladder, different enzymes will be stored in different places. But I have another theory. Now, this hasn't been proven. This is, again, anecdotal suggestion, but I can indicate from my research of working with people one-on-one. And one of the things that I noticed with proteolytic enzymes, we see significant improvements in cognitive performance and overall sense of vitality. With lipolytic enzymes, lipase-based enzymes, I would see people with debilitating skin conditions correct. When I seen amylase-based, I would also notice that people who had blood sugar dysregulation would see improvements. And what I was able to ascertain from that is that when you take in these enzymes externally, a high quality cultured enzyme like we produce in masszymes, If it's not used in digestion, if there's an excess amount, it appears that the body will reconvert those enzymes and use them in other enzymatic pathways. There's over 25,000 different enzymes. And I ascertained body always works on efficiency. And it would seem that the proteolytic pathways were being changed in the body, or the lipolytic pathway, or the amylase pathway, based on the enzymes that we were taking. We took them individually and concordantly. And so when it comes to Masszymes, it's unparalleled because 17 different types of enzymes in it, very potent, very high in the proteolytic enzymes. So yeah, that's been my experiment over the last 18 years, and we've seen it across the board in its effects.
One last question before we take our last break, and this comes from Ron Rossi. He says, what are the benefits of taking Capex?
Yeah, great question. So Capex was designed by my business partner, Matt, for two reasons. One, to win an argument, and two, to enhance a ketogenic diet. So everybody laughs because I'm a plant-based guy, and Matt, my business partner, is a ketogenic guy. And we debated this topic for decades. And the reason is I was not, when I take a high levels of lipase, I just don't, it starts to come out in my stool, or excuse me, fats. It doesn't come out. My body just doesn't manufacture and handle fats very well. And what's interesting, genetically, there's a history of gallbladder conditions inside my family history. And it turns out genetically, I'm not predisposed to break down fats very well. Matt's the opposite. He's genetically predisposed to break down fats well, but he wanted to accelerate that process. So with Capex, he took the proteolytic enzymes of Masszymes, and then he grabbed 4 different types of lipases to break down the various types of fats that you might be subjected to, because different fats, just like different proteins, cleave in different ways with the enzymes. And he also put some HCl, he put some transport mechanisms to bring it into the mitochondria, things like that inside that product. Largely in part to see if I could stand a ketogenic diet. Right. And what was interesting is I was able to increase my tolerance to fat consumption when I use the Capex. And Capex serves another aspect, because when you take it on an empty stomach, the lipase enzymes seem to activate the metabolism of body fat and energy. So I take Capex in the morning before I go work out. I don't like to eat before I work out. I take 5 Capex in the morning, and if I don't take those Capex, I notice a difference in how much pop
energy
I have in my workout. So it does seem to have an effect on energy production. That's what a lot of people report as well as the ability to break down fats and protein in the body, especially for ketogenic diets, which that's primarily your source of fuel and energy and building blocks.
We're going to take our last commercial break, and when we come back, I've got a couple questions about when to take P3OM. Obviously, it has great survival, and actually it reduplicates itself in the gut once it takes home, which is a good thing. But should we be taking it with food or an empty stomach, and so on? So stay tuned. We'll be right back with more of Wade Lightheart. Are you 35 or older? Every year after puberty, your growth hormone decreases, sometimes by 50% by the age of 35, and it only keeps going down from there. This affects everything from making it harder to recover from workouts, sleep, and a general loss of a sense of well-being. It also affects your ability to get and stay lean. BioPro Plus is the first of its kind, 100% non-synthetic alternative to prescription synthetic growth hormone treatments. All the benefits without any of the needles or side effects, and 100% safe. Previously only available through doctors, you can go to shrnetwork.biz/biopro, that's BIOPRO, and use code SHR30 for $30 off today.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
Never before has a product been so appropriately named as Botanic Tonics Feel Free. This plant-based elixir combines a variety of different effective compounds, all from raw plant materials that at different doses provide you with completely different experiences. A third of a bottle puts you in the zone and makes you very focused and is ideal for a non-stimulating pre-workout. It also has a mild analgesic effect for us older lifters who have soreness and little pains and aches that keep us from training as ferociously as we want. A half a bottle will create a mild euphoric effect that will allow you to forego consuming alcohol but still be socially lubricated and have fun. I have never had a product deliver on its name the way Botanic Tonics Feel Free does, and I won't ever be without it, and you shouldn't either. Go to shrnetwork.biz/feelfree and use the code SHR40 for 40% off your first order. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Remember those rectangular toaster pastries you used to love when you were a kid? Well, Legendary Foods has just made them better. The new cake-style tasty pastry is like nothing you've ever had before. With 20 grams of high-quality protein and less than 1 gram of sugar, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off your purchase of tasty pastries. Now available in cookies and cream, red velvet cake, birthday cake, blueberry, strawberry, brown sugar cinnamon, and hot fudge sundae. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use code SHR10 today. There have been no new innovations in men's underwear for hundreds of years. That's all about to change with Sheath. Sheath creates 2 separate compartments for your man stuff so it doesn't get smashed into a mound and sweaty and stinky. I won't wear any other underwear now that I've learned about Sheath, and you won't either. Go to shrnetwork.biz/Sheath underwear. That's SHEATHUNDERWEAR. Use code SUPERHUMAN to save 20% off. I promise you, once you try a pair of Sheath underwear, you will never wear anything else. P3OM from Bioptimizers is a patented prebiotic and probiotic supplement with Lactobacillus plantarum OM. It has now been upgraded to P3OM 2.0 with the addition of a superfood formulation that makes it 2 times stronger, as well as optimizes L. plantarum's strength. So it's more powerful than ever, which means that not only will it help you completely digest all animal proteins, it also reduces cortisol, causes deep relaxation and better sleep, and reduces stress. Go to shrnetwork.biz/P3-OM today and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off.
Move over, superheroes. This is the Superhuman Channel.
I don't know how much of what the audience heard during the break, but my microphone was open and I was complaining that I had to pee so bad. Did you hear it? Did you hear me say it?
I didn't hear it, so
Good. That's embarrassing.
I got the commercials, so
Yeah. I think it went out over the commercials. If you listen to that last commercial, the first 2 commercials, you'll probably hear me go, "Oh, I've got to pee so bad."
that's great.
I can't step away because I'm running the graphics for the commercials, and
Oh, right. Oh man, that's tough.
I can't go, "Hey, I'm going to run to the bathroom, keep things going." So anyway,
Maybe I'll do the monologue today, and you can go to the bathroom.
yeah, there you go. So when should I take P3OM? Should I take it at the beginning of a meal, in the middle of a meal? Can I take it on an empty stomach? Can I take it when I'm fasting, for instance?
There's 3 distinct ways to use it, and for different reasons. So a lot of people will take it as part of their digestive health stack when they're eating food. They take enzyme, they'll take the masszymes, 3-4 masszymes. They'll take 1 hydrochloric acid and 2 or 3 P3OM probiotics. That'll break down any meal that you have if you are suffering from digestive conditions. The second time that this thing that I've done religiously throughout the last almost 20 years is I take 4 or 5 probiotics right before P3OMs right before bed. The reason I want them working while I'm sleeping, they literally will, because it's a transit strain, they'll actually go through the blood and they'll pick up any undigested proteins, which will really help my system. It also identifies pathogens, and go check out the patent on the website. It's crazy. what the P3M does. I can't say it, but it does have a U.S. patent, and it does explain what that patent is and why it's so potent when keeping your health. And then, ideally, you would take it near the end of a meal or on an empty stomach at any time during the day, during a fast or things like that. It's fine. If you are ill, particularly with food upset, take a handful of them. I'll take a handful of them with some a handful of enzymes, and it's undefeated against, I always call it
traveler's disease, or right. Yeah.
You go to the Mexican resort, you have the great thing, and boom! Oh my God, you're sitting in your hotel, you think
I got it just from gargling with tap water after brushing my teeth. I got it.
Yeah, so a handful of those, bang, you're done. It's great.
Interesting. And it should also be noted that the HCL breakthrough has protease, protease, amylase, and lipase in there. So, when I'm taking these, just because I want the hydrochloric acid, I'm also getting these enzymes as well, which is brilliant.
We make all of our products standalone, as well as different stacks work scientifically together. So that's our policy when we make all of our products at Bioptimizers.
And for those of you who are not familiar, Bioptimizers has the single best satisfaction guarantee in the industry. For any reason, if you don't like it, they'll refund your money. That's it. No arguments. You don't have to give them a reason. No. We don't want you to be a customer if you're not happy with the product.
Very simple, very easy. We want people to keep running the tests, what I mean? And that's the big thing. And we have, I think, the lowest refund rate and the highest customer satisfaction of just about any supplement company that I'm aware of. I don't know of anyone else that's better. And I know almost all the guys in the industry.
Yeah. And as someone who has been doing this radio show, I can still call it radio show because I started out on AM radio. But somebody who's been doing this podcast now going into my 17th year, I struggle with really endorsing companies, like really unabashedly saying, look, spend your money, you'll be happy. And that's why it's so important for me to have a sponsor like Bioptimizers, because everything they do, people are happy with. Everything they do does exactly what they say it's going to do. And I have great benefits from this relationship with my gut health. I mean, I take Masszymes every day. I take HCL Breakthrough every single day. And you know what? I stopped taking P3OM, but I've got quite a few big bottles. And I'm just going to, tonight when I go home, I'm going to take a handful of them and just throw them down my throat. That's it. So it makes life so much easier when I can say to people, yeah, you can spend your money. This stuff's legit, So that's it.
Here's the thing: 12% or 13% of the emergency medical visits right now are gastrointestinal issues that can be prevented by optimizing your digestion. And the Masszymes HCL P3M stack is unparalleled in its ability to break things down. Give them a try. Get the discounts on your code. Thanks, Carl, for having us on the podcast. It's always an honor and a pleasure to be with you.
Talk to you soon, brother. Thank you. All right, we're going to take one quick commercial break. And when we come back, I've got my monologue, which I've promised to do at the end of every show moving forward. So hopefully you can stay with me for that. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. The Hercules pre-workout from Lost Empire Herbs is like no pre-workout you have ever had before. Completely natural formula designed specifically to optimize workouts, provide quicker recovery time, provide adequate nutrition, and get you away from all those no-good, overstimulating pre-workout supplements on the market today. The Hercules pre-workout blend is a mix of extracted natural herbs and mineral pitch. No fake colors, no added flavors, nothing else. Not only will Hercules pre-workout formula help your workouts, but your you'll likely discover lots and lots of side effects, beneficial side effects. Go to shrnetwork.biz/Lost Empire today to learn more. Hey, you've heard me talk about Masszymes from Bioptimizers for years now. It's a safe and natural digestive enzyme supplement that's for men or women that specifically helps you digest the protein in your diet. I never have a meal without at least 3 Masszyme capsules, and that's because I want every bit of amino acids from the protein I eat day in and day out to help this 64-year-old body continue to build new muscle and strength. Well, I can tell you how you can get a free bottle of Masszymes plus 3 free ebooks as a bonus, total gift worth over $81. You'll not only receive a free bottle of the best digestive enzyme for turning all the protein you eat into muscle-building amino acids, but you'll also receive the book From Sick to Superhuman, Plant-Based Superfood Delights, and the Ultimate Carnivore Cookbook, absolutely free with your free bottle of Masszymes. Take advantage of this opportunity fast because it won't last long. Go to shrnetwork.biz/freemassme, that's FREEMASSME, and see why I will never stop taking Masszymes. I would easily say that I am the hugest proponent you will ever meet to doing anything that will improve the quality of my sleep. And that's because sleep is linked to just about every metabolic disorder we see in our population today. One of the easiest things you can do to improve the quality of your sleep is to get a pillow that can be shaped into the exact form factor that allows you to get your best night's sleep. And that is MyPillow. I've been sleeping with MyPillow for a few years now, and I can tell you that when I have to travel and stay in hotels, I don't get a good night's sleep because I don't have MyPillow with me. Right now, you can save up to 60% off of everything offered to improve the quality of your sleep at shrnetwork.biz/mypillow when you use the code SHR. Or you can call toll-free 800-889-4938. And remember to use code SHR to save up to 60% off of everything at their website. Are you suffering from signs of an unhappy gut? Diversity is the key to healthy, robust inner ecosystem. Body Ecology probiotic liquids are made by fermenting organic seeds, biodynamic brown rice, and chickpeas together to create a diverse culture found nowhere else on earth. It's the secret to restoring your gut's microbiome for a healthier digestive tract, improved immune function, and longevity. Take 20% off by visiting the website shrnetwork.biz/bodyeco, shrnetwork.biz/bodyeco, that's BODYECO, and using the code SHR20. Being superhuman means being conscientious about the choices we make. White Oak Pastures is superhuman when it comes to raising livestock. They're committed to animal welfare, land regeneration, and rural revival. They responsibly manage the entire process from the pasture to your doorstep. High-quality, pasture-raised, great-tasting meat from a farm you can trust. Full nose-to-tail selections. They even have options for your pet. Go to shrnetwork.biz/whiteoak and use the code SUPERHUMAN to save 10% off your entire first order.
Spit that out right now. This is the Superhuman Channel.
Welcome back. Welcome back. All right. So, first of all, I do these monologues not because I think I know everything. I'm not a know-it-all. In fact, I'm more of a learn-it-all. I'm open to learning, and I learn new things every day. I've been wrong 1,000 times, and I'll be wrong 1,000 more times. So if you disagree with my monologue, feel free to email me at onair@superhumanradio.net. And maybe I'll have you on the show. Maybe your opinion will actually challenge me enough to have you on the show. There's a guy who completely disagreed with my calories in, calories out position. I'm not going to say his name because he hasn't agreed to come on the show yet, but I hope he does. He's a longtime listener. And he says that my approach to calories in, calories out is tantamount to baby talk. And I'll save this discussion for when he comes on. But again, I just want people to think. In order to become a critical thinker, you have to spend a lot of time thinking and comparing and analyzing and coming to conclusions and then maybe readjusting your conclusions. And this is the best thing in life. I want to talk about passion today because life without passion is hollow. The dictionary defines passion as a strong and barely controllable emotion. Now, this doesn't mean that people who are passionate are going to be reckless, but it's an emotion that you can't just suppress. And when we look at love, which is another subject that I'm going to talk about later, because I have some very strong opinions about love. I've shared these opinions with my own children. Love without passion is platonic. You know what I mean? Passion is an energy. Passion inspires. Passion will not take a number. You know, when you walk in and you motor vehicle and they go, take a number, sit down and wait. Passion won't do that. It won't sit down and wait. Passion demands to be paid attention to. And what happens to couples when they lose passion is they become old. We attribute passion to youth. It really is, right? Passionate. When you're young and passionate, you can't keep your hands off each other. You know, that is energetic. That is a life force. And when you get older, you get used to each other. It doesn't have to be that way. By the way, I don't think you can really be passionate when you're older without having your hormones adjusted. Because when men go through andropause and women go through menopause, they lose passion. We know that oxytocin levels drop, and oxytocin levels connect us emotionally. They help us bond to each other. So if you're in a relationship, finding ways to keep passion alive is tantamount to not ending up 80 years old and resenting the other person and wondering, why didn't I leave a long time ago? You have to find ways to be passionate, but passion is bidirectional. If you're a passionate person and you're with somebody who's not passionate, that'll get old after a while. You'll start to resent them. You'll feel bad about yourself because you feel like, I love them so much and I just want to, I have these uncontrollable feelings of passion for them. Why don't they feel that way about me? Am I doing something wrong? Maybe I don't really excite them anymore. But the reality is that love without passion is roommates. Right? You can be with a roommate for 10 years, love them, great people, but you're not passionate about them. So the goal for those of us in long-term relationships is to find ways to be passionate again. Quite frankly, I don't think it can happen if you're older and you're not hormonally adjusted, really. Because I remember when I first got on testosterone, I was going through a divorce. But I remember that all of a sudden I had the mental energy to court. I wanted to go out on dates. I wanted to see girls. I wanted to be with women because it revived that energy that is behind passion. When you look at your person, you used to be passionate about them. When you used to look at them when you were younger, you couldn't keep your hands off them. All you did was think about them when you were away from them. Passion can be distracting, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I really don't. You have to look at that person again through the eyes of passion to really, really reconnect, to really finish your life with them. And I see older people all the time, older in their 70s and 80s, who are just so cute together. You know, oh, he won't leave me alone. He's always going to grab my, trying to grab me. And, that's passion. And like love, passion rewards the person experiencing it. So those who hold back passion because they feel like they're giving something away don't understand that when you have passion for this other person, and you look at them and you feel so good inside, that's rewarding you. They can't feel that. Passion rewards the person experiencing it. So find ways to increase passion in your life. And I'm talking relationships, right? You could be passionate about a job. I'm passionate about a project right now. But be passionate about people, because that will improve the quality of your life till the day that you die. And that's my monologue for today. And if you have any ideas, things I left out, email me at onair@superhumanradio.net, and I'm happy to oblige. It is Friday. My motorcycle is sitting outside. The current weather here is 93 degrees, and I'm going to get on and ride because I am passionate about riding my motorcycle too. All right. Have a wonderful weekend. Remember, muscle is metabolic currency, so get into the gym and make a deposit. And stronger is younger. So if you're stronger next week than you are this week, you just got younger. All right. Take care.